Hi everybody, Hassan Shariq, regulated Canadian immigration consultant, back with another video on Canadian immigration. My prayers and wishes that all of you, along with your families, are doing really well wherever in the world you are. So there's a lot of buzz and news doing rounds these days about the recent announcement by IRCC regarding targeted draws. Now, this is something that has been discussed for about a year because the bill which relates to this was passed about a year ago. I've talked about it in some of my previous videos. And finally, IRCC comes up with some details. So that is what we are going to discuss in today's video. We'll talk about the various occupations which are eligible under it, possible timelines. I'll give you my opinion as to how this will impact CRS scores. Again, based on my own opinion, assumption as of right now, and the general eligibility criteria. So for all these details, watch the video till the end. Welcome back. So we are going to discuss about the recent announcement which IRCC did about targeted draws. It was about a year ago that the bill relating to this was passed. We were expecting this earlier, but this is how the Canadian government departments work. There's always delay. But finally, we've got the news where the minister has informed that they are going to start with targeted draws under express entry. When they initially mentioned this, they said that there's going to be this targeting can be based on occupation, based on education, based on experience, based on language ability. Moving forward, that might be the case, but for now, the announcement that they have made, the policy that has been shared, there's a set of occupations, some occupational categories which are going to be targeted. Now, these are healthcare, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics professions, trades, transport, agriculture and agri-food, and then they've also mentioned that they're going to focus on French language ability scores. For each of these categories, there's a long list of occupations under it. In total, there's about 80 to 82. What I'll do is that I will list them down in the description of this video. You can have a look. But generally, having a look at these healthcare professions, so these are, dentist, there's psychologists, there's pharmacists, there's lab technicians and these sorts. There is a general shortage of healthcare professions here in Canada, more so in the province of Ontario, and more recently, the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program has actually done a few targeted draws for healthcare professions as well. So definitely good news. Previously, there were a lot of healthcare professionals who were not able to meet the cutoff threshold because they were outside of Canada, and the cutoff scores were around 480s or above. This will definitely help them. I'll talk about my own assumption, my own analysis as to how I see the cutoff scores being impacted. Then there's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics professions. So, a lot of professions under this, especially the IT professions, data analyst, database administrators, web designers, software developers. There's a lot of professions in science and mathematics, actuarial studies, mathematicians and statisticians. So there's good scope for these. Then there are trades, which are like carpenters, plumbers, different contractors. So that's there. Transport. This does not have a long list of professions, but some professions for which I get to have a lot of queries, and one such profession right off my head is transportation managers. So, people who are working, especially people working in different parts of the Middle East, where you are working for the public transit or mass transit projects, great opportunity for you. Agriculture and agri-food related professions. And lastly, they've announced that they are going to target or invite people with French language proficiency. This is for the reason that there are francophone communities here in Canada, which are underserved by the current immigration system. This will help achieve the objective of diversifying the immigrant pool with regard to language ability. Right now, it is largely skewed towards people who speak English only. Um, so with this, let's have a look at the eligibility. So the general express entry profile eligibility stays there. They've also mentioned that moving forward in any of the draws, you have to meet the eligibility requirements for that particular draw. And other than this, if there is a targeted draw for these occupations, what you're required to have is at least 6 months of continuous work experience in Canada or abroad within the past 3 years for that particular profession. So under express entry, you can have multiple knocks. You do nominate one primary knock, but you can have multiple. You can have experience in multiple knocks. Uh, this particular knock, which makes you eligible for these targeted draws, you must have at least 6 months of work experience continuous in last 3 years. So if you had, because otherwise for express entry, your experience in last 5 years. So if it was beyond the last 3 years period, this will not help you out. And you could have experience in other professions as well. Sometimes there are people who have experience in multiple professions, but if you have experience in one of these for 6 months, great. And you have to meet the requirement for that particular draw, express entry draw, if there are specific requirements for that draw. For French language tests, you must have a minimum score of 7 in all 4 language abilities. That will make you eligible under these targeted draws. Some other aspects, when is this expected? So they haven't given a timeline. It is expected to be in the later part of summer. So we are in the beginning of June. I'm expecting this probably somewhere from July or August. But let's see. Hopefully in next couple of months we'll have a shape out of this. Will the categories change? So yes, the categories can change. They can change always, but I do feel that that change might actually be once a year, like for one particular year. Now, how do they define that year is still something to be established, but it will be at least for a whole year that they'll have these professions, and they'll present it in the annual plans, and depending on what skill shortage they feel that there is, they might change the professions, add professions, so this can change moving forward. Now, the impact that this will have, now this is what a lot of you might be wondering. We're still not sure if all draws moving forward will be targeted draws, or if it will be a mix of generic draws, all-inclusive draws, and targeted draws. My personal opinion is it is most likely going to be a mix of targeted and general draws. Now, great news for people whose professions lie within these occupational groups. Reason being, if you have one of these professions, um, if it is a mix of targeted and general draws, even then the cutoff scores for people with these occupations is going to drop from where it is standing right now, 480s for the generic draws. If they do only targeted draws, absolutely great news. You should be jumping, because then the cutoff scores can fall really low. When I say really low, depending on how many draws they do, and if it is all targeted draws, for these professions it can go as low as 430s. My own opinion. Um, If it's a mix of general draws and these targeted draws, people who are not within these occupations, um, the competitiveness of the pool might grow, and you can expect that the cutoff CR scores will not go down as much as they previously did when we had all programs, draws happening consistently. But whatever the combination is, people with these professions are definitely a winner here. So for all of you, tech professions, people in science, engineering, in maths, and people with the health sciences, healthcare degrees, medical professionals, you should be considering Canada as a destination to immigrate to, and you should be starting up your process. Get your ECA done, get your IELTS language ability, and then have your profile created. So you should be moving with this. Now they've there are still some missing pieces. They have mentioned that the PNP draws that used to happen are still going to occur through the express entry. So that's going to be there, no change in that. But then will there be some other like the generic draws or stuff? We're still not sure on that. So all that I can say for right now is that these specific professions, you have great opportunity. Some of the provinces, as I mentioned, Ontario has done some draws for these professions. Do keep in mind that some provincial nomination programs which are connected to express entry, like for instance the Ontario Human Capital Priority Stream, Alberta's express entry program, they usually consider the cutoff scores for the federal express entry program. So if for these professions the cutoff score for the federal program falls down, say even if it goes to 440s, uh, you can definitely expect that the province of Ontario and Alberta will have a lower score compared with the federal scores for these professions. So people under these professions literally have a great chance moving ahead. A lot of these professions are actually professions which are in high demand under the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program as well. So moving forward, when people with low cutoffs, say 440s and 450s, get invited under the federal program, Ontario is definitely going to keep it lower than these scores. So you have great opportunity. So this is um, my opinion on how this policy of targeted draws might might reflect moving forward, and what my take is. Again, as I always say in a lot of my videos related to express entry profile, that keep in mind immigration is very competitive, it is dynamic, things keep changing. For people who have these professions, you should not be waiting anymore. Say if you have one of these professions, you have like a master's or a professional degree, you have about 3 years of experience, you have a good language ability score, and you feel you can score around 440s, 450s as the CRS score, you should get your ECA done, you should have your language ability, and you should be in the pool. If you wait, 6 months, 7 months is a lot of time. That's when a lot of people will get into this pool, and that's where the competition rises. And who knows? We have about 6 months in this year. After these 6 months, like beginning of next year, they might come up with a different list of occupations, or maybe some of the occupations from this might be taken out. So you end up being at square one not the square one here in Mississauga, but you know, point zero again. So my piece of advice: start your process, do it yourself if you can do. Seek help of a licensed Canadian immigration consultant if you're not clear on anything. If any of you wants to use my services, the way to go about it is that in the description of the video you'll be able to find a consultation link. You can book a paid consultation. I'll sit down with you. I'll brief you on your profile and your prospects. And then you can decide if you want to use my full services for your PR application. Or otherwise, what you can do is that you can um, email your detailed CV along with your date of birth on our email address, which is info@shariqimmigration.com. Myself or one of my team members will assess it. If you are, usually there's a large volume of CVs and profiles coming in. So for those who have a realistic chance, we write back to them and we can discuss further. For a lot of people who do not, have a realistic chance, it's hard for us to get back, and we don't really want to create any false expectations. So good luck to everybody who is looking at moving to Canada. This policy brings some great news for some occupations, and I pray that many of you who've been struggling in the last couple of years because of high CRS scores will benefit from this particular policy. That's all from my side for today. I'll soon be back with another video on Canadian immigration. Till that time, take very good care of yourself and your families. Bye bye and Allah Hafiz.